All right, Jesse on Fire. Super quick video that I'm doing the same way that I normally do my live streams, but we'll see how this goes. I want to talk about Nate Diaz, though, because Nate Diaz is doing himself a great disservice. And when I say a great disservice, I mean like a really huge disservice, given that he is in the process of trying to sell a Jake Paul fight, which he has done a tremendous amount of work to get, right? Can anybody think of anyone who's done more to work to get a specific fight than Nate Diaz has done to get the Jake Paul fight, right? Look at the battle that he went through with the UFC to finally get free. He had to call the, anyway, we won't get into the Hamzat stuff, but he's finally able to be a free agent. He's got this Jake Paul thing, and what he says in the media all of a sudden really matters, dude. Like it matters. It matters what you say. And so if you say things that are going to undermine your fight with Jake Paul, that is a tremendous disservice to yourself. I am a huge Nate Diaz fan. I'm a huge Nick Diaz fan. Cesar Gracie is my dude. Look, that is not a group that I would ever talk shit about. And so I actually would say this or would do this video hoping that someone shares this opinion with Nate in a way where he's not going to want to slap me in the face, but also explains to him why what he's doing is not a smart strategy. Okay. And what we're talking about here is should I give it away already? Yes, I will. He said that the Jake Paul and Anderson Silva fight was a work. He said that one's a work. He said the Tyron Woodley one's a work. He said that the Ben Askren one's a work. He said all these fights are works, right? So this got on my radar because Shab did a video about it, and he was saying it was on MMA Today. I don't know, one of those ones that covers like all the MMA news. And Shab's take was this. He's like, dude, if you say that, you're setting yourself up because okay, well, what if Jake Paul beats you? Now, I realize, well, hang on. Let me finish what Shab said, actually. Shab says, you're setting yourself up because what if he beats you? And if he beats you, then what? Then you're saying that you're on the take? Like you took money? Is that why you lost? Because you took money? Which is that's a good point, right? But in fairness, no fighter ever thinks they're going to lose, right? TJ Dillashaw, right? Like no one ever thinks they're going to lose. Oh, you have one arm? Yeah, I've got one arm. You've got one arm. Yeah, I got one arm. And you're going to go fight the defending bantamweight champion, Aljamain Sterling. Yep, I'm going to do it with one arm. You think you're going to win? I do, dude. I do. That's the thing. Like people are breaking TJ's balls like he's some kind of shill. Oh God, he fought with one arm. He was just taking the money. Bullshit. He thought he could win because all these guys are fucking crazy and delusional. No one ever thinks that they're going to lose. I'm not saying like TJ's delusional to think he could win a fight against Aljo. Just delusional if he thinks he can win a fight against Aljo with one fucking arm, And so I think everyone is mistaking Jake Paul clearly thinking that Jake Paul is much less of a threat than he actually is. Okay. So I understand, like Brendan makes a good point, right? Like what if he loses, then he set himself up. Okay. Well, that's not the bigger issue though, that I'm going to talk about. Okay. The bigger issue is how are you promoting your fight with Jake Paul if you're convincing the public, your fans, that all of his previous fights have been fake? How, I don't understand. How on earth is that selling a fight with this guy? Like the stakes need to be high. Like it needs to be high stakes. He just beat Anderson Silva. He starched Tyron Woodley. Someone needs to come in and teach this guy a lesson. That's the storyline. Hey, all these fights have been fake, but hey, trust me, this one won't be. Like, I guess the logic would be that like, oh, well, this is going to be his first real fight because all the other ones have been fake, I guess. But that's not how this is. That's not how this is going to like work in the psyche of the public, dude. Like if you convince the public that his fights are fake, then his fights are fake. And thus his fight with you will be fake. Or at the very least, very questionable. There is no upside in Nate Diaz convincing the public that Jake Paul's fights are fake. As a matter of fact, he might be the last person in the world who benefits from anyone thinking that Jake Paul's fights are fake. He's actually like, he's the lowest beneficiary. He's the person that gets hurt the most. So my suggestion to Nate would be stop saying that, right? say Jake is a tough guy, but to just be like, dude, I'm doing this for all the MMA legends. I'm gonna put this guy down. And candidly, I think a lot of guys think Jake is gonna, kind of like they think he's gonna win that fight. Like people genuinely think like Nate Diaz is gonna have a really hard time with Jake. But I think that if Nate goes in there and beats Jake, that will be one of the most legendary things ever, dude. Like straight up, that will be legend shit. Because he beat Anderson Silva. He beat Tyron Woodley. Now, which of all three of these guys, who would you think poses, at least the least like, I don't know, actually. I don't know about how, like, I haven't really thought about this, but like, because now I know he already beat Tyron Woodley and I know he already beat Anderson. But if you just lined those three guys up, Tyron Woodley, Anderson Silva, Nate Diaz, before any of these fights happened, and you had to rank them in terms of the threat that they posed to Jake Paul, I don't think that Nate Diaz would be high on the list, Just because Tyron Woodley, you thought of him as like explosive. He's going to catch him with something. Anderson Silva, obviously, there's no conversation there. So it's really between Tyron and Nate Diaz, but I don't know. Bottom line is, if Nate Diaz gets this fight and he wins, as long as he hasn't convinced everyone that the whole thing's a work, it will be legendary. So my suggestion is to stop saying that. Stop saying that it's fake. Go head first into, I'm doing this for the MMA community, and go get that win, and then legend status. I mean, additional layers to your legend status. That's what I got. Subscribe to the channel. Peace.